You can make a game with just 3 things. And the 3 parts are actions, constraints, and conditions. So today we'll do a basic overview of what mechanics are. Mechanics allow us to abstract narrative elements into gameplay. So actions are the easiest thing to understand. They are what you can do. Moving, jumping, and hitting, like we see those in a lot of different games. And you could look at it as an abstraction on lots of different levels. Like you can look at jumping as the contraction of a bunch of muscles and then like the interplay of physics and gravity. But you can also look at it as an object generating momentum and then being brought down by gravity, or you could just think of it as an object moving up and down. And so what are constraints? Constraints are limitations of the environment. Constraints give the game its bounds. They're what you can and can't do. Without constraints, the game is too open and it becomes more complex. And as we add constraints, the game will be perceived as simpler and easier to understand. We can also design these constraints based on things in real life. For example, the idea of health points is in almost every single game, and it's pretty obvious where that comes from. But even that implies a condition. Conditions are requirements for updating the state of the game. So as opposed to constraints, conditions actually add to the complexity of the game, or at least the perceived complexity of the game. And the most common condition is a condition for victory or for failure. You might have heard of the win condition or the fail state. And conditions are the emotional center for the game. They allow goals to form and they set expectations. So when we put these 3 things together, when we use actions, conditions, and constraints, we create an abstraction of the agency that we have in the real world. We know that we can do things, we know that there are constraints on what we can do, and then we can see how the things that we do affect the world around us. And so to make a game, we can take one of each of these things, and they create the system which allows us to play out that narrative in an abstract form.